Don't worry, this won't be a dull video. Hey y'all, I'm James Wright and welcome to my shop. I've had a whole lot of questions recently about my sharpening system. Not particularly how to sharpen any one tool, but what about the system, the diamonds, what I use for lubricating, do I have problems with rust, how do I clean them, how do I maintain them, and I want to kind of go over what I do in my process here. I'm not going to be talking about sharpening individual tools like your chisels, your knives, your marking knives, and so on. If you want to see that, go into YouTube, search for Wood by Wright. How do I sharpen chisel? How do I sharpen iron? How do I sharpen a knife? And you will find a video dedicated to that tool. But right now, let's dive into the diamond plates themselves. Now this is my sharpening plate system. It's kind of based on the Paul Sellers design. He has a plate with three. I like to make these holes on the side so I can pop out the plates fairly easily. If I need to have anything overhanging the side, it makes it a lot easier to get at. And then I also put a space on the side with strop. And this way I can do the same maneuver all the way through them. Now on this I have a coarse stone, I have a fine stone, and I have an extra fine stone, and then I'll run on to the strop, and that way I can progress through the series, and I have a link to these exact plates down below if you want to see them. I also have an extra coarse plate, and I use this for when I really want to hone in a bevel. Most of the time if I'm working on a chisel, I'm just going to hit the extra fine and then the strop and I'm back to use. If I'm keeping it really sharp and it is already fairly sharp, I'm just going to hit the strop and back to use. If there's a little bit of a nick or some problem in it, then I'm going to go through the whole series of 1, 2, 3 strop. But if there's a big nick in it, or if I need to resurface the bevel, or I need to do a good bit of work, that's when I bring in this extra coarse, and I kind of keep it on its own because I don't use it that much, and I don't want to have a long plate. This is the exact length of my sharpening bench over in the corner, so that's what I like. Now another note about the diamonds, there's actually diamonds embedded into nickel plating on this, and the fine diamonds in this are going to last a lot longer because they don't rub off. There's less actual grit sticking up to catch and tear off. And the coarser you get, the bigger those diamond chunks are, the easier it is for a chisel to nick them off. So eventually, the coarse ones are going to wear out faster than the fine ones. But that being said, I've had these three now for almost 3 years, and I use them almost every day, and they still work great. This one doesn't work quite as well as it originally did, but it's not bad. And if I need to go any coarser, I'm going to go down to the extra coarse, which I bought, I think about 2 years ago that I started using this one. Now for normal lubrication, I'm going to be using Windex. This is just a cheap off-brand that I got at the dollar store, just a spritz per stone, and we're ready to start grinding away on them. It doesn't take that much at all. If you're working with a whetstone, the lubrication there is to create a slurry, and that slurry is what actually does the cutting on the steel. But with diamonds, the diamonds actually do the cutting on the steel, whereas this actually removes the metal waste out of the way so it's not clogging up the diamond. So this is not as necessary. You can use the plates dry, it's just the steel shavings will eventually clog up the plate and make it so it doesn't cut quite as fast. Once I'm done with the sharpening, I grab this rag. It's an old towel washcloth. This used to be white, but over the years of using it, it is not white anymore. And I'll just wipe them off. And that is the total maintenance I have on these plates. I've been asked if I have any problem with rust on these, and honestly, no. If you look underneath where the water might sit, there's really no rust. And that's one of the big reasons for using a Windex, is that it evaporates quickly, so you don't have to worry about the rust getting onto the plates. The wood, I could add another finish on here or clean it because it does kind of get grody over time, but I don't care about that so much because it's a tool in the shop, and I have no problem with it at all. The strop on the end is held on with several brass screws. That way if I'm sharpening and I hit the brass screw with my knife, it's not going to be a problem because the brass is softer than the chisel. This is actually made of horsebutt, and I have a large piece that I purchased a while ago, and I've made I don't know how many strops off of it. I've given more to other people. I like horsebutt because it's stiffer, it's harder, and it's a much more durable leather for me as opposed to a cowhide. But you can use whatever you want. For the compound on there, I use this black stuff that I got from Harbor Freight years ago. It works great. Are there better ones out there? Yes, but the amount of difference between a really cheap one like this and a really high-grade zinc oxide or something of that nature, you're not going to have a noticeable difference for someone starting out. Now, if you want to get into an experiment with different ones, go for it. But for me, it really doesn't matter that much, because a lot of times I'll even just use the fresh leather without any oxide on there to give that final polish on the steel. I do also have the Veritas honing guide, and I like this with the 90-degree edge on it. I don't use this for most things. For most of the time, I'm just going to freehand it with a chisel or the plane iron on the steel, go to town. But if I'm refining a bevel, or I want to put an exact bevel on there of 30 degrees, 25 degrees, 20 degrees, then I'm going to use this jig. It just makes it very easy to make sure that the chisel is 90 degrees to the roller. It has this large roller that fits very well on there, makes it very stable. If you're starting out and you're having a hard time with keeping square edges and holding it so you're not completely rocking out the bevel, this would be a good investment, and I still do use it occasionally for rehoning blades or putting a new bevel on them. It is a fantastic combination with these diamond plates. If you're getting started, you really can't go wrong with this, because this takes out on any of the error of holding, and the diamond plates just work. They cut fast and they're very useful. So why do I use diamond plates and not whetstones? Now there's all sorts of whetstones and oil stones and sandpaper and things like that, and I find the diamond plates to really be the cheapest option out there in the long run. They are going to wear out on you eventually, but most of these fine ones are going to last you years and years and years. The coarse ones, on average, I've heard anywhere from 2 years to 5 or 6 years. So it's really not that expensive a price, especially when you compare it to sandpaper over years and years of sharpening. At least that's for my personal use. And I use these every single day. They get used constantly. They're fast, they're efficient. You don't have to worry about flattening them like you do with a whetstone. They're just there, they go. And for me, the workshop is all about the fun of the work. I'm not a historical woodworker. I'm not caring about replica or doing things the way they used to be done. So that's why I use these. They're fun, they're fast, you're sharpening, you're back in work. The system makes it really quick to go boom, 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 and you're sharp, you're ready to go. And most of the time with my chisels, it's literally like 30 seconds and I'm back in the business. So I'm usually sharpening them every 5 minutes or so, just to make sure I maintain that edge. So I hope this answers a lot of questions for you about my particular system. Again, I'm not talking about how to sharpen tools. I just wanted to go over the steps in the system that I use, that I've had a lot of questions recently about, what liquid do I use, how do I keep them clean, and the rust prevention. Hopefully that answers your question. If you do have more questions, let me know in the comments below. I will try and get to those. I try and answer as many as I possibly can. And I do want to say a huge thank you to those of you who put comments down there, who like and subscribe and share. That really helps out the channel, and thank you for that. If you want to help out even more, I have patreon.com, as well as I sell t-shirts and card scrapers and things like that. It really helps out making Wood by Wright more than it is today. Thank you for that. And that's about it. Until next time, have a wonderful day.